So the world we live in now with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith coexisting in the same world, the same industry, but no longer together, you have to hear from both of them on their individual podcasts. So this is how it goes. Skip Bayless will say a story about Old First Take and bring up Stephen A. Or Stephen A. will tell a story about the Old First Take and bring up Skip. And the other one will reply, and it will go back and forth. It's a monetization loop. He get paid, they get paid, bunch of views. They squash it, and another 6 months it happen again. With my analysis, what I always see is Stephen A. is the type of person that will give you 60% of the truth, and the other 40% is just fluff. It's just stuff to make the story sound better. It just give you the excitement to this and this and this and this. So his story is usually going to sound good. Skip is the one that's going to give you like 100% of the truth and the facts of it. So last time they went at it, Skip Bayless ended up calling out Stephen A. and he made him look dumb because he brought out the facts. This would look like just happened again. So what I'm about to do, guide you on first originally what happened. When Skip Bayless, and I'm trying to not mix their names, when Skip Bayless started the new Undisputed with Richard Sherman and all of them, he had a segment where it was just them two, and they like, all right, let's rehash and talk about what originally happened on the day me and you got into it. And Skip told his story about what happened. After that, Stephen A. Smith ended up replying and said, Skip left out some facts and truth, and it went back and forth. So first we're about to listen to Stephen A. Smith, and after that we're going to come back, then we're going to play Skip Bayless' part, and we're going to talk about it. Let's go.
Skip Bayless told the truth. We were in dicey situations. He did not lie to y'all. There's no doubt about that. When I uttered, when I misspoke, speaking about the Ray Rice situation, and I didn't articulate my thoughts as cogently as I should have, I had an issue there. But I want to remind everybody, I wasn't the only reason. The part that Skip Bayless did not say is that although First Take had climbed the charts and was really establishing ourselves as the flagship show of the network as opposed to SportsCenter, where we were en route to doing that, the part that Skip Bayless left out was the fact that the bosses at the time didn't care. They had remembered that Skip Bayless lived off of talking about Tim Tebow every day before I arrived. They had accused Skip Bayless, meaning the public, of being a caricature of himself. And even though Skip was incredibly proud of his Tim Tebow coverage and what was peeled from it, the bosses weren't necessarily enamored with it. Skip Bayless was incredibly proud of his coverage of Tim Tebow. The bosses felt otherwise. And so that's the part he left out. I wasn't the only reason that probationary period per se existed. It existed because the network wanted to make sure that our show wasn't one that just generated ratings, but one that didn't cause them embarrassment and shame. I didn't want to talk about Tebow every day, and I damn sure wasn't going for it, and it stopped when I arrived. But to be clear and fair to Skip, it did elevate the popularity of the show to some degree, even if people were critical of it. When they talked about Tim Tebow every day, although it got on folks' nerves, the bottom line is there were ratings that came from that. And Skip was very, very proud of that coverage. So it's not to throw shade on it from that. I'm just talking about what the bosses felt. The public might have been critical of it, might have minded, some might not have minded, but they still watched. But in the end, they weren't too happy with it. The bosses I'm talking about. That is where the probationary period came from too. So I thought Skip left that out. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that.
Now that was Stephen A. Smith part. Let's go to Skip Bayless and what he had to say.
When he revises history about early First Take, I'm going to respond. When he says that I told the truth about something, but not the whole truth about that something, then I am going to tell the utterly complete truth about that something, made the case that I was a big reason that we were on probation. He also took some blame on himself because he had been suspended, he said, over some remarks he'd made about the Ray Rice situation. Well, it's true he was suspended, but just for the record, that happened a year and a half after Richard Sherman happened. So that suspension had nothing to do with us being on probation at this point, March the 7th, 2013. I'll get to the why of it in just a moment. But Stephen A. is saying that the bosses at ESPN did not like my Tim Tebow coverage, and that was a reason, if not a big reason, that we were on probation in March of 2013. By the way, my Tim Tebow coverage happened 2 football seasons back, 2 back, in 2011. And again, Richard Sherman happened March the 7th of 2013. Stephen A., I love you, man, with all my heart and soul. But that is just so wrong. To all of the above, I say baloney. Baloney. Now let's deal with the facts. Caricature? I don't know. Come on, Stephen A. Did you read 3 people on Twitter called me a caricature? I don't know, because there was no shtick involved in all those shows we did on Tim Tebow. Not once did I paint my face orange. Not once did I ever wear a Tim Tebow jersey on air. I never rode into the studio on a literal bronco, as in a horse. There were no props involved whatsoever. I was just me. Now, fast forward, if you would, through an entire another football season and into the offseason of 2013, our afternoon show audition while on probation. Now we're coming up to the Richard Sherman episode. The biggest reason we were on probation, actually the reason we were on probation, was something that Rob Parker said about Robert Griffin on First Take. This was in December of 2012. So in December of 2012, Rob, as a contributor who occasionally came in to sit with us on First Take, made some remarks that unfortunately got him fired. He was let go. And I hated it. I was in the middle of it. I didn't know what to do about it. But maybe because of the old uncomfortability with First Take, I don't know. But the point was that the Stephen A. episode with Ray Rice, what he said and got suspended for it, didn't happen until another year and a half later. So Stephen A. took some blame that he didn't need to take. It was the Rob Parker remark. Stephen A. Smith, I love you, man. I really do, with all my heart and soul. But that is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Wow. That is a lot. Like, why did Rob Parker have to take these shots? He's minding his own business. I'm thinking so much because first, somebody from Detroit, somebody that loves Rob Parker, when that happened, if you guys don't remember what happened, it probably won't let me play the clip. I'll play the audio for you guys can hear it real quick.
My question, which is just a straight, honest question, is he a brother or is he a cornball brother?
What does that mean?
Yeah, explain that. Well, he's not really. Okay, he's black. He kind of does the thing, but he's not really down with the cause. He's not one of us. He's kind of black. He's in the, but he's not really like the guy you really want to hang out with.
So what originally happened when I was watching it? So I was watching it live. I completely remember like it was yesterday. Rob Parker wasn't wrong. Rob Parker took barbershop talk, real barbershop talk, to ESPN, which he didn't supposed to do. The average black person is like, okay, man, RG3 could be a coon. He could be a Sambo. He's a black man married to a white woman, very articulate, and don't seem like he embraced his blackness. That's the look of it. So instead of him saying any of those words, he called him a cornball brother, which was hilarious. We knew it was bad. Now, and what made it even worse was Stephen A. Smith throwing him under the bus afterwards, because I'm very uncomfortable with what it just went. You made it a lot worse than what it was.
Stephen A., what's your take on this?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I'm uncomfortable with where we just went. RG3, the ethnicity, the color of his fiance is none of our business. It's irrelevant. He can live his life any way he chooses.
Skip Bayless came with facts. He came with facts. The first thing he like, look, let's go to the dates, dog. Stephen A., you talking about the Ray Rice situation. Brother, you damn near 2 years off. like, yeah, you was on probation for that, but that was completely something different. And then Stephen A. Smith, you know he's so off. He ain't bringing Rob Parker. He like, bro, we was on probation because of Rob Parker. Not because of you, not because of me. And he was like, yeah, you know, boost up the low ratings a little bit with Tim Tebow. For the younger viewers, Tim Tebow era on First Take was the biggest thing in history of sports television. Number one, the biggest thing in history of sports television, what Tim Tebow did, he completely disrupted everything. Everything. And Skip Bayless was his number one fan. So everybody that talked smack about Tim Tebow, Skip was winning. So he was taking on everybody, making them look dumb. It was like, man, Tim Tebow can't throw, but he keep on winning, and it was just a perfect heaven. So yes, they're going to talk about that. Now, yes, was Skip Bayless excessive about Tim Tebow? 1,000%. Very excessive. But like he said, I didn't come up there with no Hennessy. I ain't come up there with no goat mask. I ain't put on no cowboy hat, no cigars. I just come my Jordans, my chain, and be me. And when you think about it, it's like, damn, you got Shannon Sharp, he do all his things. You have Stephen A. Smith do all his things. Skip don't never bring no props. He just... So now we're going to have to wait for the Stephen A. Smith video. Skip Bayless, you're absolutely right. I did have the dates wrong. But what I was implying when I particularly, and wanted to particulate, like, oh, Lord. Like, brother, you was wrong. You was wrong. Whose side are you on with this debate? And what's your thoughts in the comments?
So as I'm editing this video, I realized Stephen A. did this because he thought that Skip was talking about him in the original video. And Skip was talking about Rob Parker. He just didn't want to throw Rob Parker under the bus, and Stephen A. forced him to have to throw Rob Parker under the bus to bring the facts out. So Stephen A. felt that he took a shot of him. He like, oh, you saying it was just me, but let's add you in there to it also. That's why he did that.